After your best friend and my childhood buddy started dating, they were always breaking up and getting back together. Every now and then, they'd threaten to call it quits, and I'd be the one running back and forth trying to patch things up. I always thought I was their loyal relationship security guard. It was thanks to me, after all, that their petty misunderstandings and tempers didn't tear them apart. That was until I stumbled upon a certain forum post. Asterisk, I'm so bored, babe. Why don't we pretend to fight again so Lily can play peacemaker for us? Oh, just so we're clear, I'm Lily. One at the time, I was out shopping for Claire's birthday gift with Ethan. I had just stepped aside to grab a drink when I casually refreshed my phone and saw the post. The poster wrote, "Isn't there some unwritten rule that best friends are supposed to have zero interest in their friend's boyfriend? Then why is it that every time I want to break up with my boyfriend, my best friend goes out of her way to convince me to stay with him?" The replies came flooding in. Asterisk, sis, you're so right. I can't stand my best friend's boyfriend. She deserves 8 of him, and even that would be too much. Honestly, your best friend sounds kind of sketchy. Asterisk, sketchy +1. Whenever my friends fight with their boyfriends, I always tell them to break up. I mean, why should I care? It's not my life that's going down the drain. Asterisk, sketchy +2. I wouldn't bother convincing anyone to get back together. Not in this lifetime. Unless I'm dead, it's never happening. Honestly, I think it's pretty normal. I used to tell my friends to break up too, but after a while, I realized no matter what I said, they'd be back together the next day and not even tell me. Turns out the joke was on me. Now I just tell them to stay together. Maybe your best friend feels the same way. It's just not worth getting involved. The original poster replied to this one. Oh, she's not indifferent. She puts her whole heart into it. She'll plead with me, then turn around and plead with my boyfriend. She's running around like crazy, as if her life depends on us staying together. And then she added a reaction meme to her comment. The way this person spoke, their tone, their word choices, even the memes they used, it all gave me an unsettling feeling. Someone commented under the reply, "When you put it like that, it's kind of weird. Why does she care so much about you two staying together? Does she actually like your boyfriend? Is she into something kinky? I don't get it." That comment got hundreds of likes. Then the anonymous poster responded again. "If you guys don't believe me, I'll prove it to you right now. Asterisk, quick confession, I actually fake fights with my boyfriend sometimes. It's so funny watching my best friend freak out and try to fix things between us." Thank goodness some of the commenters still had common sense. By this point, people were flooding the thread with question marks. But the poster didn't care. She kept going. Asterisk, I'm texting my boyfriend right now. I'll show you. Ethan handed me my drink just as his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, let out a resigned chuckle, and then, as if by accident, shot me a quick look. The uneasy feeling in my chest grew stronger. I watched as Ethan typed a reply, tucked his phone away, and then pointed to the Apple store across the mall. "Claire's been wanting those Apple earbuds. Let's check them out," he said. The forum thread continued to update in real time. The poster shared a screenshot of a reply, captioned, "Let's do this." I couldn't help but notice something familiar about the profile picture in the screenshot. It wasn't blurred out completely, and the more I stared at it, the more it looked like. I pulled out my phone, ready to confirm my suspicions, but before I could, Claire's text popped up. "Lily, that idiot Ethan, he's pissing me off again, I'm breaking up with him." For a good 30 seconds, I felt completely numb. Ethan's voice snapped me out of it. "Lily, you coming?" I looked up at him, refreshed the thread on my phone, and there it was. The latest update was a screenshot of the exact text I'd just received. Yep, turns out I was the clown all along. I sent 3 question marks in reply. Ethan, meanwhile, called out, "Lily, I've got to run. Can you grab those earbuds for me? I'll pay you back later." It was déjà vu. This exact scene had played out so many times before. I'd buy the gift. He'd give it to Claire and the money. That would take ages to come back to me. But hey, I wasn't just any ordinary person. I happened to have money to spare. So I never made a fuss about it. #3, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Why would they do this to me? Claire and Ethan had met through me. She was my best friend from college. He was my best friend from middle school. When they got together, I was over the moon. But somewhere along the way, things started to change. They'd fight over the smallest, most trivial things. Things that could have been cleared up in 3 sentences would somehow escalate into full-blown breakups. I didn't want them to split over misunderstandings. And honestly, I didn't want things to get awkward between us either. So every time they fought, I'd calm Claire down, then turn around and smooth things over with Ethan. I'd say all the right things to both of them, making sure they saw each other in the best light. End of excerpt. At that moment, I typed directly into the chat box. Then just break up. But on second thought, I deleted it. Instead, I replied, "What now? This is, what, the 4th time this week you two have argued?" The other person immediately copied my reply and posted it in the group chat, smugly announcing, "Actually, we haven't argued even once. It's all just teasing her for fun. You guys have no idea how hilarious she gets. Sometimes my boyfriend and I are lying in bed at a hotel, and we just start messing with her." So, instead of a post-coital smoke, the two of them indulge in this, truly unique. Claire replied to me, "He's just so infuriating. He never thinks before he speaks. He even cursed at me again today." "What did he call you?" I asked. Normally, this is where I'd message Ethan directly and ask why he'd upset Claire again. But this time, I didn't. Claire seemed to find my silence unusual, so she threw out an ultimatum. "He called me a B*TCH, said all kinds of nasty things. Lily, you have to help me take him down." I've always despised that word, B*TCH, because I grew up hearing it hurled around all the time. My mom was the other woman. Richard showered her with endless affection and wealth, but couldn't offer her even a shred of love or respect. After she passed away, Richard brought me back to live with him. I became the new target of his wife's frustrations. Even after she died, those words cast a long shadow over me. Claire knows exactly where my soft spots are. She thought this time she'd hit me where it hurt. She even bragged in the comments, "This is such a big deal. Lily's definitely going to step in and bring me a peace offering on Ethan's behalf." Curious, someone asked, "If it's your boyfriend who upset you, why would she give you a gift?" "To apologize on his behalf, obviously. He'll tell her what I want, and she'll buy it for me. Lily's super rich. She never asks us to pay her back." The comment section collectively expressed their disbelief. One person even posted a meme that read, "Injuries sustained by Op, 0. Injuries sustained by Op's boyfriend, 0. Injuries sustained by Op's best friend, 250. I couldn't help but want to like the post. But before I could, Claire, unable to handle the backlash, deleted her post and vanished. I rolled my eyes. If she has such thin skin, why bother stirring up drama online? "I think he went too far this time. Just break up with him," I told her. Claire was so shocked, she sent me a voice message. Standing amidst the noise of the bustling street, I picked up her call, yet I felt an overwhelming sense of loneliness. Claire and Ethan are my closest friends. I genuinely, truly care about them. For a brief moment, I even thought, should I just let them take advantage of me? After all, other than money, I don't lose much. But then I thought, why should I? Does my sincerity mean so little? Claire's coy voice came through. Lily, is this really the first time you've ever told me to break up with him? Do you actually want us to split? I replied calmly, weren't you the one who said you wanted to break up? I'm just following your lead. Don't you have your own opinion? But I don't know. I feel a little reluctant. I mean, he's pretty good to me most of the time. Oh, by the way, the shoes he got me through that personal shopper just arrived. I'm thinking maybe I should forgive him. I didn't miss a beat. Honestly, he's not that great to you. Those shoes, they're fake. He didn't get them through a personal shopper. Her voice shot up. What? No way. He transferred the payment to the shopper right in front of me. How could they be fake? That personal shopper is just someone he knows. They staged the whole thing. How do you know? Why didn't you tell me sooner? I didn't know. I made it up. Based on my understanding of Ethan, though, he's not the kind of guy who dropped $3,000 on a pair of shoes for her. The priority now was to muddy the waters. Only in chaos can I find opportunities. After venting her frustrations, Claire abruptly hung up. Minutes later, Ethan messaged me. Claire's threatening to break up with me. She says the shoes I gave her are fake. Before I could respond, his messages kept coming in rapid succession. Who told her that? Those shoes look as real as it gets. How could she even tell? The pair she wanted costs $3,000. It's not like I can't afford it, but it just feels so unnecessary. This is so annoying. Fine, if she wants to break up, so be it. How can someone be so materialistic? If we followed the usual script, this is where I'd say something like, it's just a pair of shoes. If Claire likes them, I'll buy them for her. What style do you like? I'll get you a pair too. You two can wear matching shoes. Just stop fighting all the time. I felt a flicker of self-loathing. Here I was, trying to stir the pot, yet the situation was unfolding like a scene from their manipulative playbook. So I sent, Claire already thinks you're stingy. If you can't work it out, just break up. Both sides went silent for a long time. Feeling indifferent, I wandered aimlessly down the crowded streets. On my way home, my phone buzzed with a call from Claire. The moment she started speaking, she broke into tears. My instinct was to comfort her, but the words caught in my throat. I remembered that scathing comment in the thread, calling me Lily the clueless idiot. I decided against saying anything. Lily, where are you? Can I come find you? Claire asked, her voice trembling. I'm heading back to Golden Estate, I replied, keeping my tone detached. Claire hesitated, just as I expected. Golden Estate was where my dad and my brother lived, and neither of them ever had a shred of patience for Claire. She had the good sense to avoid that place most of the time. After an awkward pause, she stammered, Then, will you come out later? Maybe we can grab dinner together. It's my brother's birthday today, I said flatly. There was silence for a beat before Claire spoke again. Didn't your brother already have his birthday last month? Yes, but today's the family celebration. You know how it is. I'd get an earful if I skipped it. Then go, she said immediately. I'll admit, I was being a bit of a coward. I wasn't ready to confront her just yet. Part of it was emotional. After all, I grew up with only 2 close friends. Losing one of them felt unbearable. The other part was practical. I didn't have enough evidence to confront her properly. That post had already been deleted, and I only managed to screenshot 2 images. When I got home, my face must have looked especially sour. James, my sharp-tongued older half-brother, turned to my dad and asked, She's back to collect debts again? Richard, my dad, shook his head. I don't think so. I already transferred her money this month. Maybe you should chip in. You're her brother, after all. It wouldn't kill you to show some generosity. James snorted. Serves me right for opening my mouth. I already transferred her money this month. Despite his grumbling, 5 minutes later, I got a notification that my bank account had been topped up. Then James said, loud enough for me to hear, "Lily, the money I just sent should be enough to keep a smile on your face for the rest of dinner." I didn't even bother with a response. I stood up from the table without touching my food. Richard called after me, "Come on, sweetheart," and sent me another transfer before coaxing me back to the table. Once I saw the additional funds in my account, my mood lifted noticeably. But as soon as I stepped outside after dinner, I ran into an uninvited guest. Claire was standing at our door, holding a carefully wrapped birthday gift. When she saw James and me walking out together, she immediately approached us. With a sweet smile, she greeted James. "Happy birthday, James." I froze, completely caught off guard. I hadn't expected her to show up here of all places. James glanced at me with a questioning look, and I forced an awkward smile, silently pleading with him not to expose me. Luckily, he stuck to his usual demeanor, cold and aloof. "Thanks," he said to Claire, his tone indifferent, "but I don't accept gifts." Then he turned to me. "How are you getting home?" Before I could answer, he tossed a set of keys into my hand. "Never mind, you're annoying me. Take the white car in the garage. Leave your junky car here. I'll have my assistant take it in for maintenance tomorrow." Without waiting for a reply, he gave instructions to the driver and walked off. As we headed toward the garage, Claire commented, "Your brother is so handsome." I responded with a noncommittal. She added, "Are you upset with me because Ethan and I are about to break up?" I shot back, "Have you broken up yet?" "Not yet, but this time I really mean it. It's just that, when I think about all the good things you've said about him, I start feeling soft-hearted again." Before I could respond, she suddenly gasped at the sight of the car in front of us. "Wow." Her voice was tinged with envy as she said, "And here you are, always complaining about how your brother treats you poorly. He casually gives you a Porsche. That's because you don't like hearing me talk about how good James is to me. For the longest time, I thought it was because you were afraid he'd steal my attention from you. You once told me that no one in this world could match the bond we shared. But the truth is, James has always been kind to me. Even though my mom destroyed his family, he never held it against me. He's the most honorable man I've ever known." Feigning nonchalance, I replied, "It's just a Porsche. Ethan could gift you one too. His garage is full of cars he barely uses." That remark must have hit a nerve. After all, Ethan hadn't even bought her a pair of $3,000 sneakers, and it wasn't like Ethan's family was any less wealthy than mine. Claire stayed quiet for a long time as we drove. Finally, she broke the silence. "Aren't we going to your place?" I lived alone in a spacious downtown apartment. Anytime Claire was in a bad mood, I'd take her there. She often slept in my master bedroom, though I always kept a guest room ready for her, complete with its own walk-in closet. Whenever she admired something I bought, a dress, a bag, I'd make sure to get her the exact same one. When I didn't respond, she pressed on. "Lily, why aren't you trying to talk me into staying with Ethan this time? Would convincing you make you feel accomplished?" I asked, my tone sharper than I intended. "We're best friends," she said, her voice soft, almost pleading. "Don't you want me to be happy?" I parked the car at the entrance of her apartment complex, turned around, and looked at her. "Your happiness is something only you can decide for yourself." She anxiously replied, "But this time, Ethan and I are really breaking up. Shouldn't you, as our mutual best friend, try to talk some sense into us?" "What do you mean by this time we're really breaking up? So all those other times didn't count? Were you two just messing with me?" Her face flushed red, realizing her slip of the tongue. She tried to backtrack. "No, it's not like that. It just wasn't as serious before." I replied coolly, "Serious or not, you can't keep arguing like this all the time, can you? Honestly, I think you two might not be a good match after all. What do you think? She seemed stuck, her head almost grinding to a halt, before finally responding. I think we're fine. We don't fight that much. 3 arguments a week is your standard, and sometimes it's 5. You call that fine? Even the 2 roosters my dad keeps don't pick fights that often. Honestly, I really think you two might not be right for each other. Maybe it's better to call it quits. She opened the car door and stepped out. But just before closing the door, she suddenly said, "Lily, don't you think you've changed?" What a joke. Does someone expect to stay a doormat their whole life? Or did they seriously think I'd willingly play a permanent role in their little drama? They must think too highly of themselves. Sure, I, Lily, treasure my friends, but friends who act like leeches or parasites. I can live without those, thank you very much. You used to be so scared of Ethan and me breaking up, she accused. You were afraid it would put you in a tough spot, afraid of losing either one of us. But now, you've become so cold-blooded. I straightened up and stared at her. So what do you think I should do? Should I just spend $3,000 to buy another pair of shoes for you, pretend it's from Ethan, and then buy a matching pair for him, telling him, see? Claire just wanted to see how much you cared. Look, she's giving you a gift in return now. Or should I take the fall like last time? When the whole luxury shopping incident came to light, I flat out said I was the one who arranged the purchase, just so neither of you would stay mad. I personally bought you each a pair of shoes. Tell me, why is it that every time you two fight, I'm the one who ends up getting hurt? Look, I don't really care about the thousands of dollars, but you can't just treat me like a doormat, can you? Claire frowned slightly and asked, Lily, did you stumble across something online? She stopped mid-sentence. I pressed her. Stumble across what? She shook her head. Nothing, I just wondered if you've been hearing some rumors. No, I haven't. I'm an adult. I don't waste time chasing baseless gossip. I didn't want to engage with her any further. I hit the gas and drove off. Barely a minute after leaving Claire's apartment complex, her boyfriend, Ethan, called me. The first thing out of his mouth was, "This time, I'm really breaking up with her." I mean, her family's financial situation isn't all that great, so who is she to demand such a high standard of living every day? She's always trying to compare herself to you, but does she even measure up? I mean, sure, you're an illegitimate child, but your dad and brother are big shots. What does she have to back her up? It's all because you've spoiled her. You hand over expensive gifts without a second thought, so now she feels entitled. My conditions are better, so I'm just supposed to spend more. Why should I return a $3,000 pair of shoes for the $300 sunglasses she gave me? Ethan and I had been friends since middle school, and our families were close. His family's wealth certainly far surpassed Claire's, but he'd been the one insisting I introduce them after their first meeting. As a friend, he was all right. Financially, he was undeniably well off, but when it came to relationships, he had plenty of flaws. Still, none of them were deal breakers. I figured someone born and raised in privilege would naturally have a few blind spots when it came to practical matters. So, in the early stages of their relationship, I'd step in to mediate during their arguments. But the fights became more and more frequent. Honestly, if I hadn't stumbled upon this one particular post online by chance, I might have reached my breaking point soon enough anyway. Before Ethan could finish his tirade, I cut him off. Didn't I tell you this morning? Just break up already. You two really aren't suited for each other. His hesitation mirrored Claire's. He hemmed and hawed. You really think we should? You're not going to try to talk me out of it. I'm serious about this breakup, you know. If I make up my mind, I'm not going back. Impatiently, I replied, go ahead, break up. Stop dragging me into it. Best of luck being single. I was so done with these two clowns. I've thought about this for a long time. The way they treat me, it all boils down to a mix of disdain and jealousy. They look down on me, yet envy me. How could someone like me, an illegitimate child, have my father's affection? How could my mother, the woman who ruined another family, escape the resentment of my half-brother? How could someone with average looks like me, draped in designer clothes, be praised for having a high-fashion face? I've just been too numb to realize it until now. I should have noticed it earlier. From all those subtle details, I should have sensed it long ago. I don't deny the warmth and care they once gave me, but now I have to admit it, any kind of relationship can change. I shouldn't have expected an everlasting bond, not even a friendship. For days, I had been crashing at my dad's place for meals, until my brother couldn't take it anymore and snapped, "What's wrong with you? I've sent you money for 3 days in a row. Isn't that enough? Have you switched careers to extortion now?" My dad shot him a glare. "How much can she extort from you anyway? Stingy, send her some more." After watching my brother transfer the money, my dad immediately turned to me and said, "Don't come back tomorrow. Every time you're here, your aunt cooks extra fancy meals, and I'm trying to control my diet lately." See, instead of hoping for a friendship to last forever, cold, hard cash feels much more reliable. I went on a 3-day shopping spree at the mall. On the last day, I happened to run into Ethan's ex-girlfriend. We used to dislike each other, but now, here we were eyeing the same handbag. The sales assistant looked torn between the two of us. She seemed to notice I was in a bad mood and gave a small smile. "Forget it, you can have it. I'll just come back next time when they restock." As I walked out of the store with the bag in hand, she stood at the entrance and called after me, "Since I let you have the bag, can you treat me to a coffee?" I nodded, but as soon as we sat down, she asked, "How's Ethan doing lately?" "Honestly, I'm allergic to him right now. Let's change the subject, or you're paying for your own coffee today." "Did you two have a fight? You two were so close back then. You even introduced your best friend to him just to break us up, didn't you?" I was utterly shocked. I slammed my hand on the table, spilling coffee everywhere. Why the hell would I do that? Sure, I'm not the most reliable person, but I have my principles. Why would I do something so low? She looked even more surprised than I was. But that's what Ethan told me at the time. When I caught him and Claire flirting, he said you introduced them. He told me you were his best friend, so of course, he trusted you. I thought he was an idiot, so I broke up with him immediately. Do I look like someone who'd set them up? Even my mom couldn't figure out her own relationships her whole life. You think I'd help them sort theirs out? Olivia shrugged. Well, that's what Ethan said. If you're curious about the details, you can ask him yourself. I was going to confront you back then, but, well, working under your brother doesn't leave me much choice. Can't exactly risk my job, can I? I asked, when was this? She thought for a moment, then scrolled through her phone before replying, about 2.5 years ago, I think. I was so furious I felt like I was about to explode. They haven't even been together for 2 years. Just recently, Ethan told me their 2-year anniversary is next month and asked me to prepare a gift for them. For some reason, after I said that, Olivia gave me a look full of pity and sympathy. "I actually mentioned it to your brother once," she said, "but he said you're so naive that you probably didn't know. I thought he was exaggerating, but I guess he was right." I gritted my teeth. Why didn't he warn me? He said you're biased against him. If he brought it up, you'd think he was stirring up trouble. Besides, she added, lies always get exposed sooner or later, don't they? Ever since that day with Olivia, I'd been in a constant state of ready-to-explode anger. Everyone I looked at annoyed me. Even seeing my brother at work made me glare at him fiercely. He was so baffled by my attitude that he ended up transferring me another allowance. Amidst all this, Claire invited me to her birthday party. Lily, Ethan and I are back together. He's throwing a party for my birthday tomorrow night at Ocean Banquet. Don't forget to come. Oh, and don't forget to bring me a gift. A gift, a gift. Don't worry, I'll make sure to prepare a very special one for you. The next evening, Claire called me 3 times before I finally arrived. As soon as I walked in, she pouted and whined. Lily, you're finally here. You've been so busy lately. It's impossible to get hold of you. If it weren't for my birthday, I doubt I'd have been able to see you at all. I smiled without saying anything. She glanced behind me and asked, "Where's my gift?" "It's on its way. Just wait a little longer." She forced a smile. "It's not a cake, is it? Ethan already got me a 3-tier cake." I looked at the cake and said, It's pretty. Wasn't it this bakery you got me a cake from last year for my birthday? If I remember correctly, it was a petite 4-inch one, right?" Claire looked a bit embarrassed. "Well, it was just the 3 of us back then, and I was dieting, so I couldn't eat much." She stuck her tongue out playfully and leaned in to whisper, "Besides, this bakery is super pricey. That little 4-inch cake cost me $400 or $500 at the time." I didn't go along with her words. There were 6 of us in the private room. Claire introduced us to each other, saying, "This is my cousin Emma, and those 2 are also my cousins Emma. I've told you about Lily before." Then she suddenly smiled and turned to her cousins. "I've mentioned it, haven't I? Lily's dad and brother are both amazing. Once my internship is over, Lily's going to help me get a job at her family's company." The 3 of them looked at her with envy. I responded naturally, that might not be possible now. Claire was stunned. "Why not?" "Just because. Maybe the company will go bankrupt right after you join." As soon as I finished speaking, the door swung open. I turned to Claire and said, "Your first gift has arrived." She looked pleased at first, but the moment she lifted her head to see who had entered, her expression turned sour. "What are you doing here?" she demanded. The man smirked. "I'm here to collect a debt. When do you plan on paying me back the 200,000 yuan you owe me?" Claire immediately stepped behind me and whispered, "Lily, this is the guy I told you about, the rich ex-boyfriend. Remember the money you lent me last time? It was to pay him back." I turned to her and said, "I know. I was the one who invited him here. I told him I couldn't lend you the money, so he refunded it to me. Now he's here to collect it from you." Ethan, who had been quietly absorbed in his phone, finally looked up. "What are you playing at?" he asked me. I pointed at the man and said, "That's Claire's current boyfriend, Ethan. If Claire can't pay, maybe he can." Claire looked as though she was about to cry. "Why are you doing this to me?" she asked. "Take a guess." From the side, Ethan asked, "Lily, what's gotten into you? Didn't you say you'd cover this debt for Claire?" I did, but that was when Claire told me she had accidentally broken an antique vase at her ex-boyfriend's house, and that he only came asking for compensation a year later. Ethan, have you ever heard of someone waiting a whole year to demand payment for a broken antique vase? Ethan blurted out, "Maybe the guy's just got a screw loose." Claire's ex-boyfriend sneered, "You're the one with a screw loose. What broke up a year ago? She hadn't even broken up with me at the time. That vase was in my bedroom. You tell me, what kind of activity in the bedroom would break a vase?" I wasn't even planning to make her pay for it. But after she accepted tens of thousands of yuan worth of gifts from me, and then turned around and broke things off, I was furious. That's when I brought up the vase as an excuse. And then she dragged in not 1 but 2 suckers to pay her debt. So who here is the real idiot? Ouch. The room fell into a heavy silence. It took Ethan a while to process everything before he turned to Claire and asked, "So you cheated on him to steal me away?" Claire's ex snorted. Dedication to her craft, I'll give her that. Claire's face turned bright red. Ignoring the other two men, she turned her anger on me. So you've finally shown your true colors. I stared at her, confused. What? I always thought there was something fake about you. Ethan has always said you're so innocent and pure. But you couldn't keep up the act forever, could you? Finally slipping up, huh? You don't even like rice noodles, but every time I treated you to some, you acted so excited. It always felt fake to me. Your brother treats you so well, but you always act like the only person in the world you care about is me. You knew from the start that Ethan liked you, but you pretended not to notice. Then, you'd casually drop hints about how nice he was to you, rubbing it in my face to show off your pitiful superiority. What's so great about you anyway? You're just an illegitimate child. Why does everyone treat you like you're so special, so innocent, so pretty, so kind? Her cousins looked on with expressions that said they were enjoying the drama. It seemed Claire had invited them here today to show off her current life. After all, her family had always struggled financially growing up. But she hadn't expected them to witness this train wreck. I went to those noodle places with you not because I like noodles, but because you like them. And that's all you could afford to treat me to. I never talked about how good my brother is to me because every time I mentioned it, it upset you. Your own brother only ever asked you for money. I didn't want to make you feel bad. As for Ethan liking me, it has nothing to do with me. I don't like him. And as for your claims that I flaunt my life, I can only say you must have had too little in life to feel this way. Claire lost her temper. If you knew I couldn't afford better, why did you let me treat you? You have so many prepaid cards for fancy restaurants. Why didn't you take me there? I looked her straight in the eye and said, because I saw what you posted online. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Soon, her second gift arrived. When the door opened again, her gaze flicked to the newcomer, and her panic was immediate. It was a relative of hers from her hometown. A couple of years ago, I had helped this relative of Claire's find a job. It happened at the parking lot of my dad's company. A few days ago, as I was passing by, the security guard stopped me and asked, "Miss, why hasn't my brother's job been arranged yet this time?" Curious, I asked for more details and found out that Claire had promised to help them find jobs. Apparently, she had been charging fees in private. Her 50-something uncle had paid her 50,000 yuan, and that was considered fortunate. Money paid, job secured. At worst, it was just a year of underpaid work. But she had been collecting money from several people back in her hometown, all under the pretense of job placements. Claire had mentioned this to me a few times before, but the people she recommended were all middle-aged, well into their 40s and beyond. My family didn't need that many security guards, so the matter had been left hanging. That day, this man walked straight up to Claire and confronted her. "Claire, I've been to your house so many times, but you're never home. Your parents always say you're not around. You can't just take our money and not deliver. I'm here on behalf of your uncle today. If you can't arrange the job, you should return the money." Ethan, standing nearby, asked with a puzzled expression, "What job arrangements? Are you working in HR now? Aren't you interning as a cashier at my uncle's company?" The man replied, "It's about arranging security guard positions. My brother's job, isn't that Claire's doing?" Ethan paused for a moment, trying to recall, and then his face changed. "Wait a second. Are you talking about the security guard at Lily's family company? Claire, did you really take money for this?" Ethan's temper flared instantly. "Claire, not only are you cheating on me, but now you're running scams too. I thought I treated you pretty well. Why are you so short-sighted? Lily tried to help you out of kindness, yet you used the opportunity to make money for yourself." Claire, hearing this, let out a cold laugh. Cheating? Are you not guilty of the same? Who was it that told Lily, "We just met because you didn't want her to think poorly of you"? You think you've been good to me. The gifts you buy for Lily cost tens of thousands, and for me, just a few thousand, as if to brush me off. Are you dating me or her? And her kindness. She's just like you, condescending to me. Don't think I don't know. Every time you threaten to break up with me and go flirt with her, you're secretly overjoyed when she tries to console you. The room had become unbearably suffocating, filled with tension and accusations. I felt like I couldn't breathe. From my bag, I pulled out a small box and placed it on the table. Looking at Claire, I said, "This is the third gift you've ever given me over the years." Inside were paper cranes, a handmade bracelet, a paint-by-numbers kit, and a few other little crafts. I took these out of my safe. Now I'm returning them to you. The safe, where I kept gems, pearls, and antiques gifted to me by my dad and James, had once stored these trinkets. I had cherished them, thinking they were special. But now, I realized she wasn't worthy of that sentiment. It seemed she was relieved this third gift exchange was over so easily. As she let out a breath of relief, I smiled. "Now it's your turn. Return the money for my gifts." I then pulled out a detailed list. Couple sneakers costing $60,000, luxury bags at $70,000, jewelry worth $50,000 item by item. It totaled $150,000. Claire's face turned pale as she stared at the list. She obviously couldn't come up with the money. Finally, she pointed at Ethan and demanded, "You used half of these gifts too. Don't tell me you're not planning to split this bill with me." Ethan's face was a mix of disbelief and outrage. "I wore the shoes fine, I'll acknowledge that, but the bag and the necklace, those are on me too. Don't tell me you're about to argue that you provided me with emotional value and visual appeal in return." I thought I was about to witness a dramatic breakup fight, but to my surprise, Ethan simply pulled out his phone and transferred me $70,000. "Look carefully, I'm only transferring $70,000. The remaining $5,000 I won't pay. Because you're ugly. You don't meet the standard for visual appeal." Even though the comment was humiliating, Claire gritted her teeth and endured it. Someone helping her pay off part of the debt was already a win for her. "Get the rest of the money to me within a week, or I'll report this to the police," I said, leaving one last warning before I stood up and walked out. The moment I opened the door, Ethan followed me. He opened his mouth, likely to explain something, but I cut him off, pointing a finger at him. "Don't bother, we're done. Don't contact me again." Truthfully, I felt awful. I had been spending so much time at my dad's office lately just to avoid being alone. Of course, I also hoped to make some connections while I was there. For the past few nights, I couldn't stop crying. I didn't have many close friends. Those from my social class wouldn't associate with someone like me, a child born out of wedlock. And those below my social class had nothing in common with me. That's why I had clung so tightly to my friendships with Claire and Ethan. I thought that as long as I gave them my all, I could keep them forever. But now, I finally understand. All one-sided pursuits are never love. I wiped away my tears and called my brother. The moment he picked up, he asked, "Why are you crying? Out of money again?" I mumbled a low "Him." He seemed a bit speechless at me, staying silent for a while. Finally, he said, "Got it." Half a minute later, my phone lit up. I never knew my tears were worth this much. Immediately, I repeated the same trick. But after rambling on and on to my dad, he didn't even once mention my crying. I even made sure to sniffle a few times on purpose. Suddenly, my brother's voice came through from the other end of the line. "Are you planning to con both of us?" I hung up the phone instantly. Not 2 minutes later, 2 transfers came through. "Richard, Here's something for you, secretly. Don't let your brother find out. He says you're just a bottomless pit for money. James, stop playing the victim. Here, I'm sending you more. Looking at my bank balance, my mood suddenly brightened. Who says I don't have friends? My dad and my brother are my friends too. Friends who throw gold coins at me. A week later, the 80,000 Claire owed me was finally transferred. I chuckled again. Those who betray sincerity deserve to pay in cash. I booked a flight and went abroad for a vacation to clear my head. Every time I thought about coming back, my brother would send me more money and tell me to enjoy myself a little longer. I teased him once, asking if he was planning to transfer all of Dad's assets while I was away. On the video call, he looked at me and said, "Even if I gave you 2 extra brains, you wouldn't outsmart me." When I finally returned home, it was already spring of the following year. My brother had arranged a position for me at his company, insisting I clock in daily. That very day, as I was just downstairs, I happened to run into Ethan. He approached me to say hello. I greeted him back with a faint smile. He gave a bitter laugh and said, "Your dad and your brother really dote on you. They'd rather pay a penalty than do business with my family anymore. I owe you an apology, Lily. I'm sorry. Although it wasn't my intention to hurt you, I did mess up." I shook my head. I don't care anymore. Claire probably won't get the chance to apologize to you in person. Her parents took her back to their hometown. They're in a lot of debt, probably have to write IOUs and slowly pay it off. I'll apologize on her behalf, sorry. There's no need. Whether it's you or her, I don't care anymore. The elevator doors opened, and I stepped inside. He smiled and said to me, "I won't disturb you. I'll take the next one." "All right, goodbye. Goodbye." Later, the #hash helping a couple reconcile only to end up as the prize in their custody battle * trended online. The top comment turned out to be a screenshot of that deleted post from Claire. I stumbled upon it while buying a drink. How about we pretend to fight again so Lily can mediate and entertain us? After some thought, I replied, "Who would have guessed? Lily herself has never even been in a relationship." Some netizens recognized me as the one mockingly called 250. A few expressed sympathy for me. A few asked about Claire's fate. I told them, "They've broken up and we've cut ties," but the majority responded with, "Does Lily need a new bestie?"